How is it going, Retro people? My name is Brad, this is Retro Cell Spotlight, and this is your news, notes, history, and retro games to play for the week of May 2nd, 2017. The ZX Spectrum, or ZX Spectrum depending on where you live, has seen a resurgence in the last few years. Last year I talked about the handheld ZX Spectrum Vega. Well, now a new, modern Spectrum is on the scene. Called ZX Spectrum Next, this machine runs off an FPGA board, something that is all the rage when it comes to creating old consoles or computers with new hardware. The Next product differs from the other Spectrum projects, like the Vega, in that it is a fully fledged computer. It's an evolution of the original hardware rather than a keyboard or plug-and-play console, and it's compatible with original software and accessories, but with new capabilities and expansions. The industrial design has also been handled by Rick Dickinson, ensuring an authentic Spectrum look. The FPGA is running on a much higher spec this time around as well. The Z80 CPU has 3.5 MHz or 7 MHz modes. The default 512 kilobytes of RAM can be upgraded to 1.5 megabytes internally and 2.5 megabytes externally. Hardware sprites and a 256 color mode have been implemented as well. There are also 3 AY audio chips and an FM unit to give enhanced audio. RGB, VGA, and HDMI video output are all included. It's also possible to use a Raspberry Pi Zero as a cheap accelerator board, adding a 1 GHz CPU, 512 megabytes of RAM, and a dedicated GPU. If the unit does deliver on its promises, it could well be the last word in Spectrum models. The Kickstarter has already been funded, but if you want to get in early, there are still a few tiers remaining. If you'd rather put it all together, you can get just the board for €99. 175 euro for the basic Next model, 215 euro for the normal version with a real-time clock and a Wi-Fi module, or 230 euro for the Plus model with the accelerator board ready to go. So if you're curious, check it out in the links below. Game development, as most of you know, is very, very hard. It takes long hours, tireless nights, and if you're lucky, a keyboard and a mouse. That last part is kind of a joke. Nowadays that's a given, but back in the day, Masahiro Sakurai coded the first Kirby game for Game Boy on a Famicom Twin and a Trackball. As reported by Game Watch and translated by the Patreon-supported Source Gaming, Sakurai recalled how HAL Laboratories was using a Twin Famicom as a development kit at the time. As if the limited power wasn't bad enough, Sakurai revealed that the Twin Famicom testbed they were using, quote, didn't even have keyboard support, meaning values had to be input using a trackball and an on-screen keyboard. Sakurai, who was 20 at the time, says he simply thought this keyboard-free programming environment was, quote, the way it was done, and he coded an entire functional test product using just the trackball. He even says the process led to some improvements, managing the game's data processing load, creating a game that had a very smooth movement for a Game Boy game. So we already kind of knew that Sakurai was an amazing creator, but holy crap, this really paints how much of a badass he was and how bad he wanted to create his game for HAL. If you want to check out the full interview, check it out in the links below. Game re-releases happen all the time now. It's quite awesome to have old games that were amazing back then be on systems that run now, and not having to fuss with getting them to run. Well, who thought that Night Trap would be a game that deserves a re-release? Granted, the game is immensely important in the ratings wars back in the 90s in the United States, and holds a very important historical role, but the game is not that good. Night Trap follows the Sega Control attack team, or SCAT for short, as they monitor and defend a bodaciously 90s sleepover party being attacked by slowly lurching vampires. That's not a joke, that's the premise. To protect those wily teens from vampiric rituals, you have to trap the demons throughout the house, switching from security camera to security camera, waiting for the moment when they step close to a fake wall or a trap door, all filled with the purple light and glorious fog. So what we have here is the 25th anniversary of the game, and I'm not sure anyone would really call that a fun game. It hit on a console that not many people had, that not many games came out for, at least comparatively to the other consoles around it, with a genre that was more or less being exploited at the time. The genre has kind of seen a resurgence though, so that does give it a little bit of an explanation. The game might provide some limited fun and be a talking point for a while, especially if the price can be kept under check. They're looking to launch it on PS4, but I wouldn't be surprised that a PC version comes in the near future. The UI seems to be completely redone, and I've never seen this video that uncompressed before, so the quality will certainly be there. Oh, and let's not forget the damn theme song, which you can get for free from the game's website right now in the links below. It's very 90s, but it's actually kind of catchy, so A few weeks back, I talked about the prototyping that Nintendo did for Breath of the Wild in an NES-style engine. No, unfortunately, this story isn't about how Zelda Maker is coming, though I have a feeling that's going to come sooner rather than later as well. But no, right now we're talking about Breath of the NES, developed by Winter Drake. And before I finish this story, you need to go to the download link in the description of this video and download this from the creator's itch.io page now before Nintendo takes this down. This is a remake of Breath of the Wild in a very similar 2D engine that Nintendo showed off at GDC 2017. Thus far, the project was built with the Game Maker Studio in a few months. Winter Drake even has plans for when Nintendo will most assuredly issue a cease and desist letter. They're gonna swap Link and the rest of the world for original characters to keep on moving. However, this is many steps above quests that are fan-created from creation software that I talked about a few weeks ago as well. Zelda Classic and Solaris, for example. This engine is fully customizable, meaning that Winter Drake can take some liberties with the gameplay to change or spruce it up where they think it needs it. The game is still in development, with version 1.3 currently available from their itch.io page, at least at the time that I write this. On the developer's Twitter, they are teasing version 2 coming soon with much more. So this game is progressing, the developer seems to be having a whole ton of fun, and this really spurs on how much classic Zelda is still loved, even with the new ideas of Breath of the Wild. I would be interested in seeing some of these ideas make it into those fan-made quests that I talked about in those other Zelda quest creation softwares as well. Check out the game in the links below, and I will repeat, grab it now before it gets taken down. This month in 1996, Metal Slug was released for the Neo Geo. Super Vehicle 001 Metal Slug, more commonly known as just simply Metal Slug, is a run-and-gun video game developed and originally released by Nazca Corporation and later published by SNK. It was originally released in 1996 for the Neo Geo MVS arcade platform. The evil General Morden and his rebel army has launched a coup d'etat on the world's governments, and all attempts by the armies of the various countries to curtail his growing power fail. His most recent attack has given him access to a new form of all-terrain combat tank dubbed Metal Slug. In a last effort to stop Morden, Captain Marco Rossi and Lieutenant Tarma Roving of the Peregrine Falcon Strike Force are sent to locate and eliminate his power base, as well as reclaim or destroy any metal slugs they can find so as to keep the technology out of Morden's hands. The game is widely known for its sense of humor, fluid hand-drawn animations, and fast-paced two-player action. Neo Geo's Metal Slug has received very positive reviews, and in a retrospective review, NeoGeo.com scored the game 9 out of 10. Quote, "Coming back to Metal Slug feels like returning to visit an old friend. It's just as good as you remember it, no matter how long it's been since you last saw each other. Metal Slug is not only an insane amount of fun, it's also one of the best games to illustrate the genre and among the best titles on the Neo Geo period." Originally, Metal Slug was available on the Neo Geo MVS arcade system and AES home entertainment system. Later, a Neo Geo CD version of the game was produced, featuring a combat school mode that allowed the player to revisit previously played stages, but with new mission objectives. In 2006, Metal Slug Anthology, titled Metal Slug Complete in Japan, was released for the Wii, PlayStation 2, and PSP. This compilation includes the original Metal Slug and all of its arcade sequels, including Metal Slug 2 and Metal Slug X up to Metal Slug 6. The games are emulated versions of the original, with none of the additional game modes or content introduced in the other home versions. In full, Metal Slug has been ported to the Neo Geo AES, Neo Geo CD, Sega Saturn, PlayStation, Virtual Console, PlayStation Network, iOS, Android, Neo Geo X, Wii, PSP, PS2, PS4, as a part of the PS2 games on PS4 in the Metal Slug Anthology collection, and most recently, the Nintendo Switch. That's a lot of consoles. If you are a patron that pledged to be a part of our Patreon campaign and are watching this early, then thank you very much. For those of you who pledged at the producer level role, your names are now on screen. If you are interested in seeing your name as a part of Retro Style Spotlight, the tutorials, and have it be inside of the Launchbox application, then head on over to our Patreon link in the description below. At just $2 a month, you can see content like RSS early, and at higher tiers you start to unlock things like exclusive Discord server access, producer credits, and a personal hangout with the Launchbox team. Any dollar amount anyone pledges to our campaign is helping us create a better product, and we could not thank you enough. So that was Retro Style Spotlight for the week of May 2nd, 2017. All of the relevant links to everything you heard in this edition of RSS will be in the description below. Remember, you can sign up for a Launchbox forum account to interact with the community, moderators, and the Launchbox staff if you have any questions or would like to contribute to the project. If Launchbox has given you a beautiful library of games, then why not purchase a premium license of Launchbox for $20, which will get you big box and tons of premium-only features. If you enjoyed this episode of RSS, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe to get notified of new videos that we make. Let us know what you think of RSS and any feedback you may have on it in the comments below. My name is Brad, the link to my channel is also below, where I do lots of gaming content, and remember, freaks and geeks, to play more games, and we'll see you next time. Have a good day!